Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of VizRT Tuesday Tutorials. I am your host, Richard Evans. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now today I want to show you how you can manage your macros. Now inside every TriCaster there are system-created macros and user-created macros, and I'm going to show you how you can turn them on or off or even combine macros and from different sessions to help manage your show. Pretty simple technique, but another powerful tool in your TriCaster toolbox. So, let me show you how it's done, son. Okie dokie. So, I'm in the TriCaster 2 Elite interface, and I want to show you first just starting up a session just from scratch, okay? So, I'm just going to call this one blank session. The video settings don't matter for this example, and let's go ahead and just start it up. All right, so now we're in this completely blank session. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at macros. And before I start creating a macro, let's just take a look at the lay of the land here. So go to the top of the screen and click on macros and then configure macros. And this window is where all of your macros are going to live. Now on the left, these are going to be the different folders that you can create, and then there's also some system created ones in here as well. And then on the right, these will be all the different macros that live inside that folder. Now, as you can see over here on the left, I have a bunch of different folders. So the system commands, that's going to appear on every session, and then your session macros, which I'll get to in a bit here. And then all these other folders that I have in here, these are all different folders that I've created for different sessions and different projects that we've been working on here at VizRT. So now one thing I do want to mention in this session macros folder, this particular folder is only going to live within the existing session that you're in. So say that you move over to a different session, etc. This particular folder will be won't be there. So whatever you create in here won't be seen on the other sessions that you're in because they're independent. Okay, so but there are ways around that as well, which I'll go ahead and show you here. So one way to do it is we can create a completely new folder. So we'll say blank session macros, like that. And so now this will appear in other sessions. So now if you want to just keep it in the session macros, I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, so let's go ahead and just create a new macro. Right, I'm going to call this load and play script. All right, nothing fancy on this one. Let's go ahead and move it over so you can see what I'm doing. I'll go ahead and hit record, and this macro is going to be very simple. I'm just going to go into my automation tab, load in a file that I have on my network storage. There we go. Load this one in, and just loading in a typical Tuesday tutorial script here, and then I'll go ahead and hit play, and good to go. Blah, 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 Richard Evans, blah, blah, blah. Like, comment, and subscribe, etc. Okay, let's go ahead and hit stop on that, and I'll go ahead and stop this one and clear it out. And if I take a look at the macro itself, just by selecting it and hitting edit, you'll see that I only have two commands in here, which is just loading in my script, and then a few frames later, it will play it. So let's go ahead and just play that, and so we can see that it works. You'll just keep an eye on the automation tab here at the bottom. So I'll hit play, and it loads in my scripts. Then a few frames later, we'll start to play it. Hey, cool, good to go. All right. So now again, this one is living right now in the session macros folder. So what you can do is if you want to use it later on, you can say right click on it, copy, and then you can move it into any one of these other folders. So I'll go ahead and throw it into this blank session macros folder here, like that. Cool. Okay. Now, another thing I want to show you is adding a trigger to your macros, because as you saw when I was trying to trigger the macro, I had to hit the play button, but you have these 4 external triggers, so you can assign those to, say, a button on your keyboard, on your control panel, on an Elgato Stream Deck, whatever kind of devices that you want to use. So if I click here, it is currently listening for input from me, so I'm just going to use the equals button on my keyboard here. All right, and then whenever I hit the equals button again, it will play that macro. But you'll also see that I have a little warning sign here next to that, which means that I have another macro somewhere in one of these folders that is assigned to the same trigger. So if I click the equal sign right now, it will play the macro I just created, but then also play the other one too. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep these separate. So either I can choose a different one, or I can go through and turn off the macro or the entire folder that conflict is attached to. Now I happen to know where this one is, so I'm going to go into System Commands here, and let's see here. Let me just scroll down. Oh, there it was. Right there. So I have this particular macro. It has that a button assigned to it. So one thing I can do, I can either just clear it out by pressing X, or I can simply uncheck it, and now it is no longer available as a macro, and therefore will also get rid of the conflict. Cool. All right. So if I put it back, you see the conflict comes back up. Same thing here. If I get rid of it, then that macro goes away, or the warning goes away, not the macro. Okay, so let's go ahead and just clear that out. I just wanted to show that to you just in case if you ever see that, just, that is a warning that you might be playing two macros at once. All right, so cool. Let's go ahead and clear that out. And then now I am going to close this, and I'm going to exit over to a completely different session. Go ahead and exit out. All right, now back in my main menu, I'm going to select Open Session, and I'm going to open up a session that I've already created, which is down here, Tuesday Tutorial, and I'll show you this process. All right, so I am in my Tuesday Tutorial session that I've already set up, and let me go over to the macro side, and we'll take a look in here. So again, all of my macros are there, including the blank sessions macro folder that I created earlier. And if we look in there, there is the macro that I copied over. But if I go over to session macros, check it out. See, that one, it has its own unique macro that is already in here. So again, just to reiterate that your sessions macros folder, it's going to be dedicated to that session you're in. So we can move these around, copy them over, etc. Okay, so you'll see I have this macro, and if I hit play on it, like so, it just zooms in to my virtual set, brings up a lower third, and then it goes away. Woo! All right, cool. So let's say that what I want to do now is I want to start to mix and match these a little bit. Instead of going through and creating a new folder, I can say, all right, well, let's grab this macro. I'm going to say, let's copy it, and let's put that into blank session macros, like so. And all I have to do is hit paste, and boom, there it is. Now I got it. So now whenever I use this particular folder in a different session, now these two macros will show up. And if I go and play the one that I built earlier, let me go ahead and open up my tab first. Oops, it's already in there. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll hit play on that, and you'll see it loads my scripts, and then in a few seconds, it plays it. Cool. Excellent. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Yes. Okay, so now that's kind of just giving you an overview of how you can manage your macros within your like a specific TriCaster. But let's say that we want to move this over to a completely different TriCaster. Okay, so ways you can do that is you can export the entire folders of your macros. So for example, I can right click on this and say export, and then I can export the entire folder. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to call this entire folder. All right. And so that backs up my that entire folder. And then if I want to as well, I can say, let's back up just this one individual macro. So I can say, all right, let's go ahead and hit the export button, and then just call that load and play script. Go ahead and save that. All right, so now let's move and create a new folder here, and I'll call this duplicate folder. All right. So when I do that, I can say import, and then select entire folder like so, and then you'll see it loads all of those in because it backed up the entire folder. Or click on import and just grab an individual macro, and now I have a duplicate of it here. Okay, so that's just kind of showing you how you can move these around, etc. So back up your those macro backup files onto, say, like a thumb drive, or email it to yourself, Dropbox, however you want, and then move it over this way, and it will be the exact same macro. So again, if I do this, run this one again, let's hit load and play script. Bloop. Again, all it does, loads it. Few frames later, plays it. Boom. Now, also, one little thing I wanted to mention is I've showed you kind of how you can deactivate some of these macros as well. So one thing you can do is, let's say we only want to use the macros that are in the duplicate folder, and we don't want to have to worry about any other macros. Well, I can go through and just uncheck all these other ones, and now those are no longer available to me in that session. So now the only macros that I have are right here. So this allows you to mix and match things, especially if you have some like different macro triggers that are conflicting, like I showed earlier. You can just simply turn the entire folder off, or you can go through and actually select individual macros and turn them off. That way you don't have any conflicts in your macros. Now you can still sit there and hit these and they'll still work, but it'll just get rid of the trigger aspect of these things. So a lot of different ways that you can mix and match and combine and organize your macros. So I highly recommend playing around with it, and of course, have some fun. Woo! There you go, another awesome way to use macros to help you in your productions. Now you can find more tutorial videos like this one by subscribing to the VizRT YouTube channel at youtube.com/VizRTofficial. And you can also find more information about VizRT products and services by contacting your local VizRT partner, or you can visit our website, VizRT.com. And you can also get professional training with VizRT products by signing up for Viz University at VizRT.com/community/Viz-University. And if you're posting your work using VizRT products on social media, hey, make sure that you tag us using the hashtags VizRT, TriCaster, or 3Play. We love seeing what you're working on. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another episode of VizRT Tuesday Tutorials.